Today, Goo, and you folks at home, we are bringing you a tiering of Marvel villains. That's right, from the MCU, all 32 movies, all 7 shows, all 39 properties in general. What If don't count. Werewolf by Night don't count because that's might be in the MCU. We
The
don't really
special.
know. But so the 7 shows, 32 movies, and this is just villains from those properties. It won't be villains we haven't seen yet, villains just from the comics so far, just villains we've seen in those shows and movies. And Goo and I are going to do our best to tier them into one of 6 categories.
And what are those categories, Mac?
Goo, starting from the bottom, stinky, the real bad ones, the ones that ruined movies or ruined a trio of movies to something like that. Just above that, should have been better. Characters we were disappointed by, had a lot of promise or much better in the comics and stunk on the big screen. Didn't ruin the movies, Goo. I think the perfect one for this, we talked off air, is Ronan from Guardians 1. That's the quintessential didn't ruin the movie villain. Above that, the good villains, the ones that I think after the top tier or the Mount Rushmore, these are the villains we talk about that maybe have an argument for the top 10 but aren't quite the elite. Right above that, Goo, the elite. The ones that you could argue maybe in the Mount Rushmore or top 5 or 6. And then finally, our top tier, Thanos. I don't know if anyone
I believe Thanos will be on the Thanos.
Yeah, tier. I don't know if anyone else will be in the tier besides Thanos, but our top tier is Thanos.
And today I would like to thank our producer, the other Billy D, who put this together for us and is behind the scenes working the tier.
Yeah, Billy's done all sorts of stuff for us over the last couple years, including putting together other tiers for us. So today, he's working the magic behind the scenes, and we thank him for that so that neither of our computers freeze up.
So without further ado, let's get this started. And Tiermaker put these villains into alphabetical order. So let's start off with the Abomination, who I think should be better or stinky.
I actually don't mind the Abomination. And as we've seen Tim Roth in newer properties, he's borderline good. Now, the original version, maybe not so much. I'm going to say he didn't ruin the movie. I think the issue with that movie is something other than the
It was already ruined. So I'm going to lean should have been better because we saw how good he was in She-Hulk. So he should have been better.
So you don't think She-Hulk brings him up at all?
So I thought he was stinky at first,
okay,
and then she brought it up.
All right, that's fair. I can live with him going in the green tier. That makes sense. There you go.
Oh, because he is green.
Well, greenish.
Now let's go to a newer villain or anti-hero, if you will, and that is Adam Warlock from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I think he should have been better.
So all I know about Adam Warlock is what all the nerds on the internet tell me, how awesome he is in the comics and how he can do this, how he can do that. I honestly had no expectation going in other than him being powerful, and we saw that. I also thought he was pretty funny. I don't know if I would call him good yet, but he definitely didn't ruin the movie.
So do you want to split the baby?
Didn't ruin the movie?
Sure.
There you go.
Let's move on now to Agatha Harkness, who came in with a bang and kind of left with a whimper.
I think she was arguably not talking Wanda because she was clearly the best thing in that show. I think Agatha was the next best thing in the show. I don't think she's an elite villain, though. I'd call her good.
I will also say good. Oh, by the way, we get 3 vetoes and 2 stamps.
2 stamps, and you can stamp anything at any time.
That's right. I can stamp you right now if I wanted. Let's move on to Alexander Pierce from The Winter Soldier, who is kind of not forgettable because he's, overshadowed by The Winter Soldier, but I think that he is good, almost elite.
Oh, wow. All right, that's high. I was going to say borderline didn't ruin the movie, but obviously Robert Redford is a very good actor.
Yes.
And that's a good reveal, obviously, too, in Winter Soldier. So let's
Hail
go.
Hydra.
Let's go good.
Good. Let's now go on to Adashem from the Eternals. And I forgot that he was the villain, so I guess he's stinky.
I wouldn't say Arishem is stinky because I think the coolest shot in the whole fucking movie is when he shows up on Earth. when he just shows up above Earth with his face in the sky.
Mhm.
And I don't know if he should have been better, because if he's in the whole movie, what are we really doing there? You can't like make that movie on Earth. So I would say didn't ruin the movie.
Let's split the baby and make him should have been better.
But what's the argument for making him better there?
If he's better, maybe the movie's better.
He's only in the movie for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, he's a big, scary, six-eyed fella.
All right, we'll leave him there for now. Should have been better.
Let's go to Arthur Harrow from Moon Knight, who kind of like Agatha, and I'm not saying they're very comparable, but he was really, really good in the first 3 to 5 episodes. And that final episode, he sucks.
I think Agatha is a tier above him at least. So
Mhm.
I would say didn't ruin the movie, didn't ruin the show.
You know what's weird is that both him and the character of Moon Knight didn't ruin the show, but it's not a great show.
Moon Knight is just there. It's just
very
there.
forgettable.
It's hard for me to dislike it, but I definitely didn't like
Should
it.
we have had a category that is forgettable?
That sort of didn't ruin it, I guess.
Okay. Let's go on to Aisha from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and then, of course, in 3 as well. And I would say that she did not ruin the movie.
I think she's pretty funny in her limited dialogue in both movies. I think she's good. I think she's a good villain because she's bad at being a villain, and that kind of makes her a funny villain. So I'd say good.
All right, toss her in good. I might veto that later. Aisha, we just did Crossbones from Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Civil War. I thought a little underused, but good when used.
Oh, I was going to say he's sort of the definition of should have been better. Crossbones looks awesome.
Yes.
We get, 3 minutes of Crossbones, and then he's never to be heard of again?
Well, that's specifically in Civil War.
Yeah, but
He's in quite a bit of Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but he's not Crossbones at that point. He's just fucking Frank Grillo in a turtleneck.
All right.
Should have been better. He should have
been better. Okay. Doc Ock from Spider-Man No Way Home. And if we're going just from this movie, not from Raimi's Spider-Man 2, didn't ruin the movie. He was fine.
Yeah, he's good to elite in Spider-Man 2.
No, he's elite. He's elite in Spider-Man 2.
I would say he didn't ruin the movie. Yeah, that's an accurate assessment.
Dormammu from Doctor Strange. And I've seen on some lists that people have him as the worst villain. I really like that scene. I don't know how good he is in the scene, but I love that scene. So I would say good.
Yeah, this seems like something where if we had read the comics, maybe we'd have higher expectations for.
If we
maybe
knew how to read.
A warlock type thing.
Mhm.
That scene is awesome. Best scene of the movie when he gets trapped with the Eye of Agamotto there. And it's sort of this thing where like Caecilius is his underling like Ronan was for Thanos and Guardians.
Yes.
I think Dormammu was good too.
I like him too. How about the Dweller in Darkness from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? I think the weakest part of the movie.
What is the Dweller of Darkness? What is that?
It's that scary beast. It's the kaiju.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Stinky.
I think Stinky too. I hated the CGI on that.
The final 30 minutes of that movie stinks.
It's all over my face, neck, and chest. Echo from Hawkeye. Just fine.
Yeah, I didn't like thinking she was good. I would say she didn't ruin the show. Now, her show that comes out this end of this year, I think. Maybe it bumps her up a little bit, but it's also going to turn her into more of an anti-hero.
Agreed. And then we go to Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I think he should have been better.
He's so one note in that movie, and I like the way that Peter plays off of him, but Ego should have been better. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
How about from Black Widow, General Dreykov?
So he's like, he does exactly what he's supposed to do, like this Cold War era villain.
1960s Bond villain.
Yeah, I would say he didn't ruin the movie.
He also gave like the Bond speech of, "This was our plan all along."
Yeah, and like I don't know what version of him is better than that. Like that character's always going to be that character. So
the third act of that movie is just a phase 2 sky. It wasn't even a sky beam. It was just a plateau in the sky.
It's the other villain in that movie that should have been better, or it was Stinky. This didn't ruin it.
Agreed. Then we go to Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I thought she was really cool, but does that make her good?
I think she's a good villain because
Okay.
she's a villain that you sympathize with and you secretly root for, you know? You don't maybe you don't want her to win, but you want to see more of her. I actually think she's a big reason why I like the second Ant-Man movie over the first Ant-Man movie.
I would put her on like the lowest level of good, though.
That's fair.
Can we have levels within the good,
Yeah,
Billy? If
tears
that's
within the
possible?
tears.
Please tier the tiers. Gore, the God Butcher from Thor Love and Thunder. And I think we have discussed that we would have liked to have seen him butcher some more gods, gotten some more scenes, get 5 more minutes on the screen, really. But I would put him at the top half of good.
Yeah, this is a tough one because the character should have gotten more screen time, but that doesn't mean he should have been better because he was already very good.
Mhm.
So it's a weighing of screen time versus what we got. But obviously, Bale was phenomenal. Now. And I'm thinking about that movie a lot because when we're talking about these Marvel movies, that's really low on a lot of people's lists. Love
Yeah.
and Thunder. I still borderline love that movie. Taika Waititi is exactly my style. Maybe I'm a dog high on it, but I love that movie. I love most things about that movie.
Now, I would understand the argument of people saying that he should have been elite, therefore he should have been better, but I wouldn't put him that low on the list. I think he's very, very good.
Of every villain we've talked about, he's probably the best one.
How about the Grand Master from Thor Ragnarok?
I have a hard time because it's Goldbluming. He's good though. He's good.
He is. You want to know why? He's good fun.
Yeah, and they don't overdo it. He's just in that first act, and then you don't see him again.
That's perfect. Yeah, he is used mostly at the end of the first act, and then a little bit through the second act, and then they're like, let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
How about the Green Goblin from Spider-Man No Way Home?
So I think so. Here's let me break this down a little
Mac,
bit.
I am so excited to hear your response.
The first Spider-Man movie ages horribly.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of that is because he plays it so cartoonishly.
Yes.
And I don't know if I want that from my villain. So I don't think he's elite. I know most people would say that he's elite. I'd say he's a good cartoonish villain.
So hear me out, Mac. I'm one of those people. I think he was elite. I do question how he's able to throw Spider-Man through cement floors and whatnot, but I thought that Willem Dafoe in that movie was awesome, and I would put him right at the tail end of elite.
You may want to stamp that before I stamp him in good.
I will stamp him in elite.
Okay,
one of my
that's
stamps.
fair.
I have one stamp left.
I don't listen. It's not going to bother me that he's an elite. But again, you go back and rewatch that first Spider-Man movie. He's very cartoonish, and he's pretty much playing it the same in that movie.
I kind of hate that you just bullied me into using one of my stamps. How about Hela from Thor Ragnarok? And I think that she's either at the tail end of good or at the top of didn't ruin the movie.
Oh, Hela's a good villain. Hela's
Okay,
at least as good as Gore, I think.
I think she's a little bit below Gore.
The scene when Hela's introduced and she shatters Thor's hammer is incredible, and how powerful she is throughout the movie is awesome. It's rare that we see a villain dominate a movie the way she does Ragnarok.
The High Evolutionary from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And not to spoil anything here, but he was really good. And I'm still having a difficult time placing him with the other villains.
Yeah, because he's not a villain you root for because he's
Not at
just a
all.
really bad guy.
Yes.
However, he is a pretty well fleshed out villain because he thinks what he's doing is right and is going to change the world and the universe, but it's actually making him inherently like a really, really bad guy. I really liked him. And we talked about this in our episode. There's an argument that he could be the fourth or fifth best villain in Marvel.
Yeah.
I just don't know what we're going to end up in the elite here. So maybe put him at the top of good.
Let's put him at the top of good, and we might veto him after.
Okay.
I wasn't a huge fan of like the whisper yell thing that he was doing.
it's a classic.
It's a common villain thing. It's a classic, but
Green Goblin does that.
yes, but it's also Willem Dafoe just
Defoeing it up.
Yep. How about Justin Army Hammer from Iron Man 2? Speaking of
I don't think there's a version of Justin Hammer that's good, so he's just stinky.
He is stinky. Then we go to Caecilius from Doctor Strange, and I don't hate him. I think he's good. I think he's pretty good.
He didn't ruin the movie. He's better than Ronan, right? And Ronan didn't ruin the movie, so he's either good or didn't ruin the movie.
Tail end of good.
Okay.
How about Kang from Loki, or is it He Who Remains?
This looks like the He Who Remains from Loki.
He Who Remains from Loki.
Which is different than Kang from Quantumania.
So I actually really like him in Loki. I think I like him more in Loki than I did in Ant-Man. That's a good argument, actually. I'd put him at the top of good.
You know what? Here's how I'm looking at it. The version of Kang in the Loki show is better than the High Evolutionary. The version we got in Quantumania is worse.
That's a good point. So we have the two in a row here.
Yeah.
Sandwich it. But I also look at the both of them and see potential in it being very good.
The He Who Remains.
Knowing this, he's either going to get recast or they'll just change the character.
I don't know about that because I think they're a little snake bitten after the James Gunn stuff. I think they're going to let it play out before they make a decision. I might go He Who Remains in Elite. That scene when they first get to that fucking castle, bump them up to Elite. He Who Remains is Elite.
And then have the other Kang. Okay.
Someone who's all powerful and all knowing and playing it as cool as he does and pull it off. That's a fucking awesome villain.
Love that. You know who I didn't love is Carly Morgenthau from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think she's stinky.
I think you can make an argument that she's the worst villain in the MCU, and she almost single-handedly kills that show because the first 2 or 3 episodes of that show are pretty good, and then when they get into the Carly stuff, deep into it, it just nosedives.
Especially at the end of episode 4 with the U.S. Agent. Yeah. That's some good shit, and then you're like, wow, where are they going to go from here?
Right.
And it's all downhill. They say bye to Zemo, and then
Carly
it's just
Morgenthau.
Nothing. Yeah. How about Aldrich Killian from Iron Man 3?
There's like no appeal to him, and the whole thing with the Mandarin leaves like a sour taste in your mouth too. So that like twist sort of ruins the movie, right? So Killian is either stinky or should have been better.
I'll put stinky. I'm fine with that.
I'm good with stinky.
Stink it up. Speaking of the opposite of stinky, Eric Killmonger from Black Panther, top of the Elite.
Yeah, if Thanos didn't exist, Killmonger would be the best villain in the MCU.
And I also understand the argument of like, Killmonger being more human, and that might be why you like him better.
It's not even that he's more human. It's that what he's fighting for, you totally understand and can totally get behind, more so than even Thanos. Like, you understand why Thanos is doing what he's doing. You're kind of rooting for Killmonger.
Yeah, I agree. So I do think that he would be at the top of the Elite, and I don't need to stamp it because I think you're completely there with me.
I might move him up to Thanos.
Here is a tough one, and that is Kingpin from Hawkeye. We get him in 1 episode, and I didn't think he was great in that episode.
To my previous point, and now you're going to be sitting on a fence here, he's very cartoonish in this. Very cartoonish in Hawkeye. Much like Willem Dafoe is very cartoonish. I thought he was good. I thought he was good.
How many can we put at the tail end of good?
It'll kick down to 2 rows at some point.
Granted, I think that he will get better with the show and he can, really focus on the character again. I thought he was amazing in the Netflix show.
Yeah, see, I feel like this plays into the Goblin thing too. The idea of the character you're liking more than what we actually saw.
I like that you're calling him Goblin and not Gobby because you don't deserve that. Let's go on to Crow from Eternals.
Oh, this was the bad animal guy that actually ended up having like decent motivations. I
He
don't
didn't
think
ruin the
I don't
movie.
think he ruins that
No,
movie.
he didn't ruin the movie.
We just needed a better bad ultimately, which we get at Arishem. So maybe this plays into your Arishem point.
Yeah.
I would say Crow didn't ruin the movie.
All right. Then we go on to Lefroy or Lefroy, LeFou from Beauty and the Beast.
Who the fuck is this?
It's Thor. It's the blue ice guy.
Man, that ages so poorly too.
I kind of forget about him.
Stinky. He's stinky.
All right, that's fine. Stink it up. Then we go on to Loki, who I would put in elite.
Loki is elite, and when
Yes.
you go back and rewatch Avengers, he is the best part of that movie.
I would say the Hulk is the best part of that movie, but I would take the argument of Loki.
Okay.
Let's go on to Malekith.
Malekith. This is Dark
Malekith.
World. Dark World. Also,
I'm sorry. These are very small words.
Stinky.
Stinky. He
Malekith
sucks. He's the stinky of the stinky.
I think if Carly Morgenthau didn't exist, Malekith would be the worst.
Then we go on to MODOK from Ant-Man Quantumania, and people don't seem to like him. I thought he was great.
Loved
but
him.
also not
Loved
a great
MODOK.
villain, though. Not a good villain.
Yes, but I loved the character so much. Like, look at all. So actually, maybe I like the High Evolutionary more. I want to put him in elite, but I think he fits more in good.
Yeah, slap him right above Aisha. Then Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home. I think he's good, but also I think he should have been better.
Mysterio is such a fucking cool villain in the
Yes.
animated series.
Yes.
And where this movie goes downhill is the Mysterio reveal, and you find out what's been going on with all the drone tech and shit. I really don't care for that movie. It's not a bad movie. It's like Ultron range for me.
Yeah.
But everything surrounding him, Gyllenhaal does a good job acting the character.
Mhm.
So I would say didn't ruin. I'm gonna
Okay,
stamp him.
I'm
I'm
fine
gonna
with
stamp him. Didn't ruin.
Ooh, look at Mac. Authority. Then we go on to from Ms. Marvel, Najma.
You know what? I'm gonna stamp him. Should have been better. Put Mysterio and should have been better.
Ooh.
Unstamp, restamp.
I think Najma did not ruin the movie / show.
She's very forgettable, but you're
Yes.
right. She didn't ruin. What ruined that show at the end was the whole episode in like 1918.
That's not a good episode, but I like the finale.
The finale's good. I actually like the show.
Another one here that might be at the tail end of Elite, and that is Namor, the Submariner.
Namor was very good.
Yeah.
And he's like a Killmonger light because you get why he's doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So he could be tail end of the Elite. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, because I would put him above the High Evolutionary.
I think so. I think I would too.
Yeah. Okay. We are rolling right now. And now is Mac's favorite because he supports bald people, and that is Obadiah Stane / Ironmonger
Stone
from Iron Man. What did I say?
Stain.
Yeah, that's an A.
Or is it Stein? I don't know. So is he stinky?
No, because I think him outside of the suit is pretty good. Like
He's menacing. You're right.
Like
he's
he's
menacing.
not good. He's
Yeah.
pretty good. He's almost good.
I don't know.
He
if
didn't ruin the movie. He
I don't-
doesn't ruin the movie.
Yeah, because I don't know if he should have been better either.
No,
So
but also
didn't ruin the movie.
when people talk about Iron Man, one of the complaints is, well, it's the mirror villain. So if that's the main complaint from the movie, did he ruin the movie?
That's why I said, is he stinky?
Fudge, Mac.
We can leave him. It didn't ruin. I don't feel strongly enough to put him in stinky.
It's weird because I don't know if he should have been better, but it's the one of the two here.
Yeah, right. That's a tough one. Let's leave him there. Let's leave him didn't ruin for now and see how this plays out.
Okay. Another one here, and this one I think is easily should have been better, and that is Red Skull.
Yeah, Red Skull should have been better. It's like the most enticing thing about the first Avenger, and we get so little of it. And the end's kind of a letdown too.
Yeah.
And that's why he got such a pop in Infinity War, is because we desired a better version of Red Skull, so he should have been better.
Let's now go to the one that we first thought of, and this is for did not ruin the movie, and that is Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah, he's perfect as Thanos' crony. Didn't ruin the movie. Shouldn't have been better. Wasn't necessarily good.
You almost don't want him to be too good to steal any of the spotlight from any of the other characters.
Exactly.
Let's now go on to Sonny Birch from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Which character is this?
Walter Goggins.
Oh, this fuckbag. I forgot about him, so I guess he didn't ruin the movie.
He didn't ruin the movie. He's fine.
Yeah.
How about Surtur from Thor Ragnarok?
So how they use Surtur in that movie, I love.
Yes.
He's at the beginning in that escape scene with Thor when Thor's getting real meta. And then at the end, when he comes in and kills Hela, I think is pretty cool. But like, is he good? You know, like, is
Should
that
he
a
even
good
be
villain?
on this list? I don't know.
He didn't ruin the movie, that's for sure.
He did not ruin the movie. He's almost good though. So
He's
credit to
almost
him.
good.
How about Taserface?
Taserface is a good villain because he's like a Bulk and Skull type who thinks he's like super funny. Big oaf with a hysterical name, and then that plays out well in the second movie. So I would say Taserface is good.
Here is the face of should have been better, and that is Taskmaster.
Yeah, I would even be okay if someone said Stinky.
Yeah.
The version of Taskmaster in the Spider-Man game, the PS4 game, which we don't even get a ton of Taskmaster, is awesome and way better than what we see here. So this version of Taskmaster, she's either stinky or should have been better.
Taskmaster.
So should have been better for sure. If you wanted to say stinky, fine with it.
The next character here, Mac, I believe will fit right into the category of Thanos, and that is Thanos.
Thanos is the greatest villain we have seen in comic book movies because of the setup, number one, in the original Avengers movie, 2012, the payoff in Infinity War in 2019, and everything in between, tying in his daughters, tying in the pursuit of the Infinity Stones, and then them rounding him out in Infinity War and Endgame and making him a whole character, a character where you truly see how menacing he is, but you also see how cold and calculating he is. And ultimately, like, eliminating half the population in the galaxy would do a lot of good. There would be a lot of sad people, but it would do a lot of good. Thanos is Thanos.
Two things here. I would still take Heath Ledger's Joker over Thanos. And also, I think that he was better in Infinity War than Endgame. It was more his movie, though.
Well, because Endgame is 2014 Thanos, so there's obviously a difference there.
He's more of a butcher. He's not as thought out.
I get, Heath Ledger obviously won an Oscar for that role. He's great in that movie. I don't know how you can take one movie over, 6-7 years of a character.
I think that one movie, he is just so magnetic.
Yeah.
Just steals the show.
Top 2.
He's in my top 2. Don't worry about it.
I might put him 3 behind Killmonger, but he's top 3 for sure.
The Collector from Thor: The Dark World and Guardians of the Galaxy. He's good.
Yeah, he's very good. The only reason he's not elite is because we didn't see enough of him. But Del Toro, every time we saw him, he was great.
Let me ask you a question here. Who would you have higher, him or the Grandmaster?
Him, for sure.
Okay.
The Grandmaster is more of that MODOK fun villain.
Yeah.
The Collector is much more menacing.
And then, of course, Ant-Man saw this and he's like, let's have Bill Murray play another one of those characters. And he sucked. Fuck you, that character. He's so stupid. That's the worst part of the movie. And that movie, not the best thing in the world. So
the movie's good.
Next one up here, Mac, I think the biggest villain of the MCU, and that is Tony Stark. Put him right next to Thanos.
No. I'm stamping Tony Stark and didn't ruin the movies.
He ruined the universe. He's the
not
reason.
Good. He's not a
you
good
could look
villain.
At half of these villains. You could look at half of these villains. He's responsible.
I'm not letting you put Tony Stark anywhere else. I'm using my second stamp on Tony Stark and didn't ruin the movie.
You are lucky that I was gun shy on my stamp because I was about to stamp him right next to Thanos.
Yeah, but how can he be that villainous if he creates a whole thing to undo his villainy.
Sounds like he was doing it to just be
And then
a
he
hero.
does the snap.
Yeah, he was doing it just to
That's
be a
2
hero.
to 1. 2 good things to one bad thing.
You know what I'm going to do here is disagree with you. The Mandarin, Trevor Slattery from Iron Man 3, he's stinky.
Yeah, but I loved seeing him in
I did too.
Shang-Chi.
It was good redemption, but for Iron Man 3, ruined the movie.
He should have been way better as the Mandarin, but he wasn't really the Mandarin either. So is that his fault? I guess so. Stinky.
Ultron, and this is a tough one because he should be elite. So
he should be elite. I do think he's a good villain, though.
I think he's good, but you almost have to say he should have been better. Like, he should have been Thanos level.
I agree with you on that point, but that's why he's not elite. He's just good.
I'm going to put him in should have been better, and I'm stamping him.
Wow. See, that right there is the difference between our feelings on Avengers Ultron. I still think James Spader as Ultron is a very good villain.
Ulysses Claw, and this is from Avengers, Age of Ultron, and Black Panther. He's good, but he also doesn't ruin the movie. So either top of didn't ruin the movie or end of good.
I think he's good. We've seen him a couple times now. I think he's a good little mercenary that is great as like the second or third villain in a movie.
The U.S. agent, and he was captivating. Get it? Fucking nailed that. For 4.5 episodes, he's at least good.
He sort of jumps the shark in that show.
He does. I know, but
I guess
he was the best part of those. Actually, him and Zemo, I guess. All right.
But we gave Stinky to Morgenthau though, and I would say didn't ruin.
Didn't ruin's fine. Okay. Yeah. The next one up here, I believe, is elite, and I think is almost at that Killmonger level, and that is the Vulture from Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Still the single biggest. Well, that's not true because a lot of people die at the end of Infinity War. The second biggest oh shit moment for me in the MCU is when Peter Parker opens the door in Homecoming to pick up Liz.
Spoilers.
And the Vulture is her father. It's like jaw-dropping. And then that scene in the car when he says, I'll kill you dead. It's fucking awesome.
Once again, fucking horrible line. But the delivery of it by Keaton, you're like, I believe this.
You know why it works, Q, and why it doesn't work in Batman 89 is because he's a villain in that movie, and he's not a villain in Batman 89.
And then, I mean, he's so good in Morbius when he shows up, and he's like,
he looks great.
You, Michael Morbius? I reckon we should team up and take on that Spider-Man film.
Even though I just protected him at the end of my last movie.
I know this isn't going to make any sense to the audience out there, but what if you and I teamed up and then we fuck Spider-Man?
Yeah, also, I got to this universe without my tech, and now I suddenly have my tech again.
He should have had different tech, right? We're not here to argue Morbius, or as you would say, Morpheus. But here's one that's kind of a disappointment to me, and a lot of people have it super high up on their lists, and that is Wanda Maximoff, and it's specific to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I thought that they strip all the depth that she just, built up in WandaVision and made her such a one-note character.
Yep.
She should have been better.
Sam Raimi and the writers of Multiverse of Madness did not watch WandaVision. Elizabeth Olsen has done interviews on this. So they did not take her character arc into account. They did not take her character development into account. She's borderline stinky in that movie, but she 1,000% should have been better.
Like WandaVision, I still love, and very specific the first 8 episodes or episodes 4 through 8. Just such a great show, and they built her up so well, and they just, they made her a fleshed out character.
It's such an emotional,
take it all back.
It's such an emotional journey she goes on that show, and she's such a one-note character in Multiverse of Madness.
Let's go on to Mac's favorite character, and that is Whiplash from Iron Man 2. He's got whips.
I don't like Iron Man 2 anymore. I really liked it when I left the theater in 2010. I don't hate Whiplash.
I do.
So, all right, you could place Whiplash wherever you want.
He's stinky. He's stinky. Come on,
right. I'm not going to fight you on that.
Stop being an idiot. The Winter Soldier from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. He is elite.
The Winter Soldier is very elite. I almost wanted more of the villain Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That's how good he is in that movie. The bridge fight scene in that movie and chase is fucking incredible. The Winter Soldier is for sure elite.
Yeah. I mean, that reveal, and it's so obvious. I mean, you can see his eyes,
Yeah,
but the reveal, so good.
great.
Yes. How about, is it Zhu Wenwu? Is that what it is pronounced?
Oh, Shang-Chi's father?
Yes, Shang-Chi's father, who is
Um,
the Lord of the Ten
he's
Rings.
okay. He's all right. I don't know if he should have been better. I don't know enough about the character to say that he should have been better. I also
I
don't
thought,
think he ruins that last act. It's that
no,
whole everything around him.
it's that story, but
Yeah.
I also think that he's great. Like, I think he's elite for half of that movie.
Yeah, that everything about that movie, the first 2/3 of that movie is awesome. And it stumbles across
Like
the
that
finish line.
scene with him explaining, like, they stole the Mandarin from me.
Right, right.
Like, that's such a good scene.
I don't know if I'd call him good though, because of how it
He's
ends
good.
up.
No, he is good.
All right. I'm fine with good. I'm fine with
Yeah,
good.
because he's elite for half the movie.
Yeah, he is really good.
Yes. Then we go on to the Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. He, of course, turns into MODOK. He doesn't ruin the movie.
Yeah, and I don't think there's like a best case scenario where he's better, so
Yeah.
doesn't ruin the movie for sure.
How about Yonrog, your favorite?
Yanrog is from
Another
Captain
one of your
Marvel.
favorites. Yeah.
What's his face plays him? Jude Law.
Jude Law.
He's okay. He didn't ruin the movie. It's just such an expected twist. It's very telegraphed. But it's not because of Jude Law that he's not great. He didn't ruin it.
And then we go on to the final one here. I'll mute Zemo from Civil War.
So there's something to be said about a villain that can cause the infighting that he causes in Civil War.
Yes.
However, they haven't paid that off, and I don't know if they're going to. Like him in the Falcon and Winter Soldier is sort of an afterthought after the first couple episodes. They're almost pals. I don't know. I don't think he's elite, but I feel like a lot of people say he's elite.
I think that he can be elite. I still think that there's such promise there. But as of right now, he's just good.
I would agree with you. He's good.
And that also is really helped out by the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think prior to that, he should have been better, but they were kind of moving that towards him being possibly elite. Yeah. Mac, you have already used 2 of your stamps. I have used 1. Have I used both of my stamps?
No, you've just used 1 stamp.
All right.
Oh, wait. No, you did use a second stamp. You stamped
Okay. Is there anything that you want to move right now?
Now that I see who are in the elite, Killmonger, Vulture, Green Goblin, He Who Remains, Loki, Namor, and the Winter Soldier, I don't think the High Evolutionary belongs up there. So I want to keep him in good. That was the one I was really thinking about.
I agree.
You stamped Gobby, so I can't move him down.
Yes.
That would probably be what I would use my thing. So no, I'm good. I don't need to use anything.
Do you think we have too many in good?
No, I think I think that's what has made Marvel substantially better than DC. I mean, at this point, there's volume, of course, but the villains were always way better in the Marvel movies than in the DC movies. And of course, there is a lot of mirror villains, but that like plays up a little bit for decent storylines. It does get tiresome 32 movies in, but it also like baseline makes them a decent villain, and that's why I think we see a lot of good villains in the MCU.
I'm trying to think of anyone from those bottom 2 that might be moved into Stinky or didn't ruin the movie that should have been better. But
you stamped Ultron. That was your other stamp.
I did stamp Ultron.
Yeah. I thought about moving him up too.
You can't do it.
Yeah. Good uses of your stamps, that's for sure.
Couldn't do it. I think we're all set.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm happy with that list.
Oh, hi. It's Goo from the Mac and Goo Movie Club. If you like what you just saw, you can find full episodes of our program on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, CastBox, iHeartRadio, or wherever podcasts are found. And now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines.